Yo, what's going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today's video is for the few out there that have been asking for matchup charts specifically for supports against those top tier other supports. So this is just going to be mostly a one-to-one matchup. Keep in mind, Smite is a 5-man game mode. It is 5 people versus 5 people. Your 1v1 matchup rarely matters. If it's a very high, good matchup for you, yeah, maybe that's important. Or on the opposite side, you don't want to pick yourself into completely bad matchups. But picking a somewhat bad matchup because it's so much better into everyone else that they have, that makes sense. So keep that in mind. This isn't just a, if you ever see this character, instantly snap lock this other character. Also, last preface before we actually get into the video. These are the top tier characters for a reason. 1, they do something either really well, or 2, they're very hard to counter. In Ganesh's case, he's very hard to counter. So let's just jump right in, starting with Ganesh. This time I also wanted to lay it out first and then talk after, because I think it's annoying to try to remember what I'm thinking of a character or have it on the side and then talk about it after. But we have it beforehand, and we'll just go top to bottom talking about all of them. Yemoja's matchup into Ganesh is a somewhat 50-50 matchup. I think Yemoja's got a lot of prio in this matchup, even though she can't really ult to Ganesh, because they're both super backline ranged supports. Yemoja's one of the few supports that can actually outrange Ganesh. Even gods like Sylvanas, who's kind of a long range support, can't outrange the Ganesh. So Yemoja has that for an advantage. Also, her 3 is very strong into Ganesh's ultimate. If Ganesh ever drops ult and he's not close enough to follow up with a silence, a lot of times Yemoja's just able to 3 out of it a couple times and be completely safe. Lastly, in laning phase, Yemoja just heals up a lot of what Ganesh does, like the little bit of poke he does, and she also just outclears him. Next up is Fafnir, a just very safe god into Ganesh. They both play pretty front to back. Differences is it's kind of like a game of using Fafnir's ult. Fafnir can dodge a lot of stuff with his ult, yes, but then as soon as he's out of his ult, he's a sitting duck for abilities, and Ganesh makes that pretty hard because of the silence, the ultimate, a lot of damage. So it's like a weird matchup. But it's also very hard for Fafnir to die if he's never just ulting in bad situations. And if he ults beforehand and then finds the Ganesh and stuns him, 90% of the time, Ganesh is not going beads. And if he does go beads, he doesn't have a teamfight relic. And that's a pretty big win. So I think the Fafnir matchup is pretty 50-50. Sobek again, I was a little indifferent of where to put Sobek. I ended up just putting him at 0, an even matchup, because you can interrupt the, like if you're close enough, your pluck goes off and then gives you that CC immunity before silence actually starts. So you can flip him, but you have to be pretty close for that. Also, your ult gives you a lot of immunity for his slows. Ganesh is a slow heavy character, so if you have a way to get away from his slows, there you go. Laning phase, he trades a little bit of poke, Sobek can heal it up, and there's just a lot of prio for Sobek in laning phase. And if you get ahead, Ganesh is bad from, well, not bad from behind, but he is worse from behind. And if he's not able to just walk through the jungle or walk and help his allies, he's going to be a little bit more useless. Xingqian, kind of in the same vein as Fafnir, forces him to go beads. If he doesn't go beads, you can kind of just kill him off cooldown. A lot of safety into the Ganesh ultimate. Somewhat short-ranged, and he has to kind of get to the enemy backline, which is why he's in this even tier, because they have these give and takes. But I think Xingqian is an okay matchup. Ares, another one that's 50-50, forces Ganesh into beads, but Ganesh can interrupt a lot of what Ares wants to do. The CC immunity that Ares gets is also damage reduction, so a lot of the time if Ganesh is looking to focus down the Ares, if Ares just ults it in return, even if he's not pulling anybody just for that CC immunity, that can be a pretty decent trade-off for the Ares. And lastly, when the Ganesh drops ultimate, he shreds some protections. When Ares pops his 2, he gets those protections back because he's just gaining additional, so it's not too bad in that regard. Kabrakan, the last of the even matchups. If he procs his 1 before Ganesh silences him, or if he ever like feels like he's going to get gone on by the Ganesh, he can just sprint away. He just pops his 1 and he's just gone. Ganesh relies on slows. Kabrakan has a very short, well, a base cooldown ability that gives him that slow immunity and also procs a stun. So for some reason, Ganesh drops ult, Kabrakan once, and then Ganesh walks up to silence. You can just stun him out of that silence, and then you have potential to maybe turn it on to the Ganesh and kill him. The part that makes it a little bit Ganesh favored is Kabrakan's wall reliant, and Ganesh can just dash through those walls, so a little 50-50. Next up, Atlas. Hard to use a lot of Atlas abilities because most of them have like a decent casting time. The 1 you throw out and then you try to 2 them back in. Ganesh can use his 2 to be knockup immune. Yes, Atlas is slow immune in his dash. So if Ganesh ever does drop dash or drop ult, Atlas will just dash out of it. But if the Ganesh is playing smart, that's just like the one thing he should know about Atlas. If he pays attention to that, most of what Ganesh does is just very easy into Atlas. Bacchus, flop reliant and a long duration ability reliant. Ganesh can interrupt one of them and then become knockup immune in the other. Also, Bacchus has this ultimate that he's looking to get into the enemy backline, drop the ultimate. Ganesh can stop that, try to kill him with the long duration CC because Bacchus is a very short range character. And then lastly, Bacchus ever flops, Ganesh can just drop his ultimate onto the Bacchus, and the Bacchus is going to be very slowed. Protections are going to be stripped, and you can just kill the Bacchus. Khepri, another one that's slightly Ganesh favored. Very bad character into silences. If you walk too close to the Ganesh, you're just going to get silenced, and Khepri's a very short-range character. A lot of times, if he's looking to drop an ult on a teammate, Ganesh is just going to walk up in silence. A lot of times, you actually see this matchup, you'll see double beads out of both of them. And then most of the time, it's just a nothing happens, whichever god wins kind of wins. But I do think it is slightly Ganesh favored because even in the matchups where they both go beads, Ganesh has a little bit more priority in what he's able to do because he still has the ability to kind of pull Khepri's beads with just the silence, just the 3, or with the ultimate. And Ganesh can kind of just outrange the Khepri and just not walk too close to get pulled out of the abilities. I have Kumba in -1 because double dash and the ultimate being on such a short cooldown, it's basically just an ult trade. So if the Ganesh ever actually looks to lock you down, you just trade your ult, you're slow immune free with your ult, and you're also dashing away from the Ganesh. If the Ganesh isn't paying too close attention to you, you can also mez the Ganesh out of his silence. I do think it is still slightly more Ganesh favored because if you ever go for the big overhand hammer slam, Ganesh is just going to silence you or just dash away. Maui ever looks for the giant ultimate, Ganesh can just silence to not be pulled. If Maui ever hooks Ganesh, Ganesh just turns around and silences and interrupts it. If Maui ever tries to jump, since it has like that slight animation at the beginning, Ganesh can silence him or grab him out of it. The one positive that Maui has into Ganesh is if Ganesh is looking to focus a teammate or focus the Maui, Maui's got a lot of ability to get out of the Ganesh ult or help his allies get out of the Ganesh ult without actually walking through the pillars. So that's why it's only -1, not -2. Sylvanas into Ganesh. Thinking about it from now, I maybe would move Ganesh or Sylvanas down. Sylvanas is just a character I think does really well with sprint. A lot of other characters in the game don't really want sprint. They usually want other things. And he also has that Ares positive where if the Ganesh drops ult, Sylvanas can just use his heal and his 2 to get protections back to make up for those protections getting shredded. And I also think Sylvanas wants to play from ahead. So if you can get ahead, there is some kill potential there. You have a long duration CC where you can kind of just one-shot the Ganesh. So I think maybe I could move Sylvanas down to -2, but I'm going to keep him in -1. Terra, a tough matchup for her if she's looking to get offensive. If she's playing more backline, more peel-oriented, I don't think it really affects her that much. It's just she can only really play one style into the Ganesh. And I think currently, PL Terra isn't that great, so take that for what you will. Maybe don't play Terra into Ganesh because her better style isn't really good right now. But a lot of what she wants to do, she has to get very close. Ganesh can interrupt it. Even though the dash brings her kind of far, the slow lasts so long and it's so powerful that she can't really get too far away. But yeah, she's meh. Geb, kind of same problem as Khepri. Short range abilities. Ganesh can interrupt a lot of it. Slow starting animation with the dash. Ganesh can interrupt it with the 2 or the 3. The positive is, I think, a lot of the time, it's really obvious when Ganesh is looking to silence you, and Geb's ult does range similarly to Ganesh. So if you know it's coming, you get that CC immunity from the ult, you stun him out of his 2, maybe you can combo him into a death, but I think it still does not weigh as much as Ganesh's positives into Geb. And then Athena, she ever dash taunts, Ganesh silences, and then tries to turn it on to her. There is still some positives for the Athena matchup. You can't really dash taunt, but you can still play just like the global trade-off where you rotate a lot faster than Ganesh. If he ever just drops ult at you from a distance, you just dash away and then ult out. I do think it's maybe even worse for Athena than I'm making it sound, but she is not very good into Ganesh. Serb, everything that Serb wants to do is basically countered by Ganesh. Short range, long casting abilities, relies on knockups for the most part, and Ganesh can just ignore those. He has the stun, which barely outranges Ganesh's silence, so if you do play it perfectly, you can maybe walk up and silence it or stun his silence, but Ganesh knows you're looking for that. He'll just walk a little bit, couple steps forward, and then you're playing like this cat and mouse game of trying to get into the perfect distance to stun him without getting silenced. Kuzenbo is looking to blink onto the back line and then use his abilities, and Ganesh really stops that and then also drops ult to shred his protections. Lastly, Kuzenbo's passive relies on not getting knocked up. What does Ganesh have in one of his abilities? Ding, ding, ding. He's got a knockup. So it kind of counters Kuzenbo in that regard. But Kuzenbo's looking to dive. Ganesh stops a lot of that. Kuzenbo doesn't do a ton of damage currently, and Ganesh gives a lot of prots in those 2s, so the dive character has a tough matchup into Ganesh. Ymir, wall-reliant character. Ganesh can just dash through his wall. Yes, you can win the laning phase versus Ganesh, but a lot of the time it's really obvious what you're looking to do, and Ganesh can just easily toss his 2 up, silence you. Your 2 takes too long, your 3 takes too long. Yeah, maybe your ult's good, but a lot of times if you just drop ult, Ganesh is just dropping his ult on top of you. And then lastly, Artio, kind of the same spot as Kuzenbo. It's just almost worse even. She's got a tiny bit more range than him, but She has long durations abilities that can be interrupted. She has no CC immunity. She's a diver, and she can't really do any of that into Ganesh. The last thing I want to say on the Ganesh matchup chart is 3 mages would be going here. I think Nox has a good matchup into Ganesh. I think Hell has a good matchup into Ganesh, and I think Afro has a good matchup into Ganesh. I just didn't want to find a fully all gods list and sort through all of them. But yeah, keep that in mind. All the mages are good. Most of the warriors and most of the assassins are bad into Ganesh too, because they just, in a vacuum, want to do what Ganesh stops people doing. So onto the Athena matchups. Athena, very, very strong right now. 3 of her best picks into her: Ares, Ganesh, Geb. Ares for the reason of, if she ever looks to dash taunt, Ares can just use this to get that CCR. If she ever is looking to dash and dash away, Ares can cripple her. If she ults too early, Ares can ult her back in. He has laning phase push with his 3, and if she taunts him out of it, they're just winning laning phase anyway because Athena's clear is so bad. So it's just kind of win-win-win across the board. I think this is a very good matchup for Ares. We went over the Athena-Ganesh matchup here. -1 for Athena here. +1 for Ganesh here. Geb basically plays to just blow up the Athena when she's dash taunting. Geb wants to fight right on top of him, so if she dash taunts onto Geb just ulted immediately, knocks her up, has this really long duration CC that usually his mid, his ADC, his jungler, whatever, can just one-shot the Athena. If you look for somebody else, Geb can just shield them. Yes, Geb's landing phase is not the best, but Athena's isn't very good either, so it's kind of like a mitigatable landing phase. I do think Athena will win it, but Geb can at least live it. Fafnir, again, another just whatever matchup. Very hard to taunt. If Athena dash taunts, Fafnir can jump away. He can stun her out of it. If the Athena is obviously going to be dashing in, Fafnir can buff one of his allies, stun her, and then look to just turn onto her like the Geb can. And then lastly, Fafnir has a front-to-back style, and Athena plays to start the fights by taunting the frontliner. If Fafnir's in dragon form and ever hits a stun onto Athena, it's kind of like the same thing as Geb, where he just kills her. But Athena does have the value of, she can kind of bait out some things and play around it because it's a skill shot. Also, if she's just walking at you, Fafnir has to hit the skill shot, while on the other hand, Geb doesn't really have a skill shot. He can just use his ability. Sobek into Athena, I think it's even. They're both just playing to kill each other. If the Athena's ahead, she'll taunt the Sobek. Hopefully your team kills Sobek. If the Sobek's ahead, he'll just pluck Athena, hopefully kill the Athena. They kind of have the same job. Athena can just taunt more than one person. Sobek only wants to kill that one person. Easy. Xing Chen, kind of the same thing, where if Athena dash taunts, Xing Chen can just ult it. I think there is something to be said about, for all these characters, Athena always has that global component, but a lot of these characters can rotate at least okay. Geb can rotate. Xing Chen can rotate pretty fast. Fafnir can, because they can all jump walls or just jump/roll out. Xing Chen also has the ability to multiple times interrupt her dash. You can knock her up and then ult her, and it's very long duration CC, kind of like the Geb. The only reason I have Geb a little bit higher is because if the Athena's looking at your ally, Xing Chen can't really help his ally very much other than ulting the Athena, but by that time, you're already taunted. And then the Ymir-Athena matchup, I actually think this is pretty solid for Ymir. It's a 50-50 matchup where it's almost the same thing as Sobek, which whoever gets ahead should be winning the matchup. Ymir can kind of walk at Athena, force out a lot of things, wall her dash. Slows are very good against Athena also, and you could set up for the perfect wall, freeze, stuff like that. If he knows he's going to get dash taunted, he can just use his ult. He can sit in it for a while, get that mitigation from Frostbite passive, and kind of try to live it, and he wastes enough time that maybe you can trade for the Athena, but I still think it is a pretty skill-heavier, team-reliant matchup. RDO, really no way to live the dash taunt. No real innate survivability, no CC immunity. If she does get ahead, though, she can lock down the Athena a lot with the cripples, the stuns, the root, stuff like that. But Athena should be getting ahead and killing the RDO. Atlas, thinking about maybe putting Atlas a little higher, but if you think about it, if you don't have like that instant dash, and that's what a lot of these characters lack, if you don't have the instant dash to get away from the Athena dash taunt, you're kind of just screwed. Atlas could try to charge his dash, but unfortunately, Athena's just going to taunt him out of it. Bacchus can try to flop away, but it's not instant enough. Kabrakan, yes, can proc his 1 and maybe stun the Athena, so they're both locked down. Usually the team that's playing the Athena is ready for the engage, and Kabrakan's team isn't really ready. Khepri, another one. Yes, the dash is there, and it's pretty instant. It's not really that long, so it's like, meh, kind of. Maybe you can look to pull the Athena and try to kill her that way, but it is a risky play because, again, Athena's team is ready. Yours isn't really ready. But Khepri does have possibilities there. If he tosses the 2 as he knows the Athena's taunting or getting ready to dash taunt, he can try to pull the Athena, try to blow her up. Kumba, actually not too bad in this matchup. The only reason I have him in -1 is because Athena has rotation prio. She should win laning phase. But outside of that, this is a pretty even matchup. Athena ever charges dash taunt, Kumba mezzes. He's got lockdown for her with the with the 2, the ult. If he ever tries to get dash taunted, he can either ult it, he can ult the Athena, he can ult away, he can silence, he can dash away, a few options that he has. And at the end of the day, if he does get dash taunted, he still has that possibility of living with his passive. Maui, if he tries to pull the Athena, she just dashes it with that CC or the knockup immunity. Pretty easy to taunt him out of his jump. If he ever pulls the Athena, she just taunts him, and then he loses the pull on her, and then he's getting taunted in. Overall, I think it is Athena-sided. Sylvanas, I wanted to put him a little bit higher, but unfortunately, it's a hard matchup for you because you are almost always forced into ulting the Athena. Yes, there's the capabilities, like the same thing with Geb, where if she dash taunts, maybe you can actually get the kill off, but it's a little bit harder because she's knockup immune. So if you ult her as her ult's going, or as her dash is going off, you won't actually hit the knockup. You'll do the damage, but not knockup. And then she'll just taunt you and you'll die. Terra, not a bad matchup because Terra can throw up walls to block a lot of what Athena wants to do. Block her escapes, block her engage. She can hide behind her own walls. She also has a lot of slows, which Athena can kind of struggle with because she has to kind of get a little bit of distance to dash away. Otherwise, you can block her dash. And I think Terra deals with that pretty well. But at the end of the day, Terra has a hard time living the dash taunt because of not having the instant ability to just get away. And then Yemoja, she tries to lock down the Athena. Athena ults out. Very hard to avoid dash taunt. Forced into beads. Beads can be forced very easily. Yes, you have a decent landing phase into the Athena, but it's pretty easy to focus out the Yemoja as Athena. And then lastly, Serb and Kuzumbo. Kuzumbo's trying to kill one person. If Athena just ults the one person that Kuzumbo's going on to, they'll just live, and then Kuzumbo will probably die as soon as his ult's done. Serb is just another one where he is reliant on knockups and long duration abilities. Athena interrupts those. She's also knockup immune in the dash. She has global capabilities, and Serb jump is kind of quick, but not like so bad, or not Fafnir quick, or Xing Chen quick, so it's pretty easy to taunt him before he can get his jump off. Again, Serb might just be bad, so maybe that's part of the reason. But yeah, there's a little matchups for both the Athena and Ganesh gods. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys like videos like this, maybe we do it for just new metas where different guardians come up and I can kind of talk about individual matchups. But again, game 5v5, not 1v1. Don't directly go off of this where you cannot play Yemoja into Athena. You can, if your team is good into it. Say you have something like Chiron, so if the Athena ever looks to dash taunt you, you get cleansed, and then you can turn on to her. There's opportunities there, so don't think about the game in a 1v1. It's 5v5. Always consider that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.